Who's that? Giant, he called out in the background. Krishna. God.
I can see you now.
Okay.
Okay.
You need your eyes open with a torchlight of knowledge, Gulshan.
Yes, definitely.
So ultimately, there's only one spiritual master, that's God. So then how is it that there seems to be many spiritual masters? How does that work? There's Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta.
They're representative.
What's that?
They're representative.
Yes. So that's the point. That anyone that represents Krishna is regarded as a spiritual master. So in that way, there can be unlimited. I mean, you all can be spiritual masters. If whenever you're talking, you're repeating the Krishna's words. If you're trying to represent him and trying to serve him and be a good example, and just repeat what you've heard from your spiritual master, then you're also regarded as a spiritual master. So yeah, this verse that we say, Om Jnana Timirandasya, we're offering respect to the spiritual master, maybe that initiates us if we're initiated, or even if we're not initiated, to anyone that's helped us to progress in spiritual life. Or even if we are initiated, sometimes, like in my case, I spend very little time with my initiating spiritual master, who gave me the name and so forth. I made the vows to. But, I spend more time with the local devotees, and some of them, are giving us very good guidance, good help. So we're offering respect to all the spiritual masters, anyone that helps us in spiritual life. So let's do that. Om Jnana Timirandasya Karanjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sarah, would you like to read the English?
I was born in the darkness, ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Yes. Okay, so we're continuing on in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness, text number 21. 21.
Just while we're at the introduction, Prabhu,
Yeah.
When I was with Toshan Prabhu the other day, he said that it's also important before you chanting to say these other prayers as well that are in their introduction, and I didn't know that. Is that?
Yeah, I mean they're definitely they're all purifying and all wonderful and loaded with so many meanings, and there's so many personalities to respect.
Yeah.
So like the next one after the one we've just done is offering respect to Rupa Goswami, and we're actually followers of Rupa Goswami. He was like one of the foremost disciples or followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so there's so many personalities to offer respect in those prayers following this one that we do every time. So I'm just doing the fast track because I know we have limited time, and I know that in your own time you all can look at those prayers and recite those prayers. I mean, we can do it together. I mean, if you want.
No, he just said before you do your japa as well. It's important that
before you do your japa.
Yeah.
That's not standard. I mean, you can do it. You can do that. But, I mean, it's quite standard to do it before giving a class. Okay. Like before a devotee gives Srimad Bhagavatam class, like in a temple situation. Yeah. Prabhupada did that sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not all the time. He didn't do it every time. See, he knew also time is so precious.
Yeah.
And, most people also, I mean, of course, a devotee has their whole 24-hour day. They would be happy to talk about Krishna, and I would be happy to do the same. But you guys don't have that time. So, I mean, I could spend 1 hour just reciting prayers if you like. But then you would have to go, and we wouldn't have a chance to, explain things. Jaine's talking in the background, making it even more confusing for me. So So she's saying that, you know, Bhakti Mala's saying about japa. But like I've already mentioned, that's not standard. I haven't really come across anyone that now I hear that Toshan may do that. But reciting all those prayers before japa. Japa is a personal thing. Whatever inspires you in your meditation and your personal japa mantra meditation. I know devotees recite all kinds of different prayers from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, you know, some books of the Goswamis, you know, so many things. Some people just chant the Panchatattva mantra over and over again for a while before they chant Hare Krishna. Of course, it's recommended you chant that at least once before you chant Hare Krishna, which is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda. So one should chant that definitely at least once before chanting Hare Krishna. And do you know why is that?
Is that to just guard against any offences during chanting?
Yeah, very good, very good. So it's said that, see, Krishna, he is the supreme person, and his can be very hard to approach, and he sees the good things that we do, but he also sees the bad things that we do. So, but Lord Chaitanya is Krishna also, but in the mood of
Gopi.
Yeah, who's the topmost gopi?
Radharani.
Radharani. So in the mood of Radharani. And Radharani, she's as the most tender-hearted woman imaginable. Of course, women are generally regarded as more tender-hearted than the males, soft-hearted. So of all the females, Radharani's the most soft-hearted, the most kind, the most merciful, the most forgiving, the most patient, like that. So she's very compassionate. So we approach Krishna and that we approach Krishna especially through Lord Chaitanya, who is in a very compassionate, merciful, forgiving mood, overlooking our faults and frailties that we all have in Kali Yuga. Otherwise, it'd be very hard to progress in Kali Yuga if it was just the strictness of Krishna. But because Lord Chaitanya is actually the incarnation of Krishna in Kali Yuga. See, Krishna is the incarnation, came in Dwapara Yuga. But we're in Kali Yuga, so we're the most degraded fallen souls that didn't get liberated in all the previous ages. We're like the dregs that are very attached to enjoying sense gratification without following rules and regulations and so forth. So Lord Chaitanya has come, Krishna's come in the mood of Radharani as Lord Chaitanya to just freely distribute love for Krishna. And even if we're not qualified, you know, he's just giving the fruits of love of God. All we have to do is just chant Hare Krishna. Whatever other disqualifications we may have, that's overlooked. If we just chant Hare Krishna, we can attain complete success and perfection of life. So it's recommended that one chants the Panchatattva mantra, it's called, at least once before we chant Hare Krishna. That will help us to overcome offences. And also, the nature of those five personalities mentioned there, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhar, and Srivas. And then, of course, there's all the other devotees, Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Gaura Bhaktivinoda means all the other devotees, followers of Lord Chaitanya. But those five principal personalities, their nature is just full of bliss. Just even their names are blissful. Even if one just says, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, like that, then one just becomes ecstatic. I know, like in England and UK, the devotees have especially propagated the name Gauranga. So they even have paid for big billboards going across the roads with just saying Gauranga. Actually, there's a big billboard, not really a big billboard, but a big sign going into Wellington in New Zealand. The capital is called Wellington. And going into Wellington, there's a big sign post saying Gauranga. It's actually a Maori word, because actually 200 Maori words at least come from Sanskrit. So there's a Maori word, it's exactly Goranga with an N in front. Just, you know, Goranga, but with an N in front of it. Goranga. So everyone that says, oh, we're going through Goranga is getting the benefit of saying Goranga.
What's the meaning in the Maori language for no
I
ranga?
don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. We'll leave that to Gulshan to research that one. Come back next week and he'll tell us the Maori meaning of Goranga. But Gora means golden and Anga means body. So he has a golden body. As you know, Krishna has a blackish coloured body, but Gauranga or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has a golden colour complexion because Radharani, her complexion, her bodily hue or complexion is golden colour. So Krishna in the mood of Radharani has also accepted her bodily colour as golden colour. So they're very ecstatic, very blissful personalities. So just by even saying their name or remembering the person, we become ecstatic. And the idea is, if you become ecstatic, means if you become spiritually surcharged and blissful, automatically you get free from offenses. I mean, if you're in spiritual bliss, you're not going to be indulging in meat eating or illicit sex or gambling or intoxication. We only do that. We're on the material platform, on the spiritual, on the mundane material platform. But as soon as you become spiritually blissful, automatically you get free from all the offensive mentalities and offensive activities. They're all going to drop away. So that's part of the reason too, that we're going to become more blissful by chanting their names, and we're going to get free from offenses, and they're very merciful and they overlook our faults. And otherwise, personally speaking, we'd be doomed if they looked at our faults. So yeah, they're very kind. One time, what's amazing, I actually heard the recording of Prabhupada speaking. He arrived at one temple. I'm trying to remember where in America, some temple in America, and they had deities of, just two deities of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So it's called Gaura Nitai. So their hands up in the air, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Nityananda is an incarnation of Balaram, of course, Krishna's brother in the spiritual world. So he was talking about, because that was the mood in that temple. They're worshipping Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So his talk was about Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And he didn't get very far in his talk, because just talking about them, he became so ecstatic. He just started saying, Lord Chaitanya is so kind, so compassionate. And he just started crying. And then his voice choked up and he couldn't talk anymore. He just became stunned. There's one friend of mine. He's a disciple of Dave Marita Swami. His name is Stamba Bhava. His name is, so that's the name of that particular kind of ecstasy. Stamba Bhava means Bhava means ecstasy of Stamba. Stamba means like a statue. So you just become completely motionless. The body just completely shuts down. The senses become so overloaded due to ecstatic feelings of love in the heart that all the senses go into overload and nothing works. Nothing works. Everything becomes locked up. So he just like that is completely, his body is just shut down, sitting on the Vyasasana in the class, just starting to talk about Lord Chaitanya is so kind. He's so kind. And then he just went into a trance of divine love. Amazing. And all the devotees become stunned. What's going on? What do we do? There's devotees, crammed from wall to wall, floor to ceiling, hanging out the windows, hanging out the doors, and they're watching, Prabhupada becoming in ecstasy, just talking about Lord Chaitanya. Even I was on the mental platform before I switched on the computer, but now I'm just talking about Lord Chaitanya, even though I'm getting lifted up off my mental platform that I was on. You know, so yeah, there's so many prayers and they're all ecstatic, and I would definitely not stop anyone from chanting whatever prayers they want, you know, but I would say it's a personal thing. I wouldn't make a rubber stamp rule that, you know, before you chant Chapa, you have to chant these 52 prayers, you know, like that, and, you know, offer 108 obeisances and, you know, and do all these kind of things. I mean, there's so many rules, you know, but whatever works. And that's a beautiful thing. And you can, and Lord Chaitanya, he left us only 8 prayers. I mean, he preached day and night, but he only wrote down 8 prayers. So in most ISKCON temples around the world, those 8 prayers are recited quite regularly or every morning in the program, and that's called Shikshastaka. So you can look it up if you've got a songbook or Google it. Shikshastaka, Siksa Staka, Shikshastaka. So Shiksha means instructions, Astaka means 8. So it's 8 verses, 8 instructions. And in one of those it says, there are no hard and fast rules for chanting. Very important. There are no hard and fast rules for chanting.
Anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, so anyone that says, oh, you have to chant these prayers, or you have to do this, or you have to do that, you know, you don't have to do anything. You just have to chant. You know, somehow or other, whether you chant in the morning, if you can't sleep at night, you know, and just get up and chant. You know, if you wake up late, you know, and just chant anyway. You know, if you're in a good mood, chant. If you're in a bad mood, chant. If you're healthy, chant. If you're sick, chant. You know, just there's no rules about it. If you know every verse of the Bhagavad Gita, chant. If you don't know one verse of the Bhagavad Gita, chant. You know, it doesn't matter. Even if you can't pronounce it properly, who cares? Just chant. Try your best. Like, for example, Chinese, they can't say ra. Can you say ra?
Yeah, they can't say that.
Rama. They can't say Rama. Their mouth, they can't pronounce Rama.
Because the tongue doesn't hit the
tongue doesn't go Ra.
Yeah.
They don't have Ra. So they chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Lama, Lama Lama, Hare Hare. But Krishna knows you're trying your best. You're trying your best. Don't worry. You know, you just try your best to chant. You know, somehow or other, just try to chant. Of course, if you know how it's pronounced, then you can pronounce it properly. I'm not saying purposefully don't pronounce it improperly. Krishna knows, you know, that you're trying to cheat. Then you're not gonna go so well. But you know, Krishna's saying, you know, you're trying your best. You're trying your best. So like that, I wouldn't tell anyone that there's some particular rules you have to follow in chanting. You have to chant all these verses before you chant. You know, if someone feels like it, yeah, go for it, mate. Chant as many things as you like. But don't chant so many other prayers that you don't have any time to chant Hare Krishna. You know, that's the thing. Like, I've seen people do pretty elaborate worship programs. You know, they're worshipping their deities, doing artis, waving incense around, waving ghee lamps and flowers and dressing deities and doing elaborate bathing ceremonies, abhisheks, and chanting so many Chintamani Prakarasad Masukalpa Viksa Venum Kwanantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksam, chanting so many things. Oh, sorry, I've got to go to work now. No time to chant Hare Krishna. Then you blew it. You blew it. Because the main thing that he wants you to do is chant Hare Krishna. You know, after you've chanted Hare Krishna, okay, do whatever you like. Like Prabhupada said in a joking way one time, after chanting his 16 rounds, he threw his beads on the table, on the desk. His servant was in the room. He threw down his japa beads on the desk and said, I chanted my rounds, now I can do any damn thing. Not that he would do any damn thing, but just making the point that chant your 16 rounds first, you know, and then think about doing other things. Don't do everything under the horizon first and leave chanting Hare Krishna last. You know, so in that case, I'd say, you know, if you're going to especially if someone's short of time, I'd say, first of all, get your 16 rounds done, and then do all your fancy prayers and everything. Look, I don't want to make it sound, wrong or anything. There's nothing wrong with the prayers. But our first duty, and that's said to be the first instruction of the spiritual master to the disciple, is you must chant 16 rounds a day. That's the first instruction. It's not second, not the third, not the fifth. It's the number one. You chant 16 rounds, and if you have, 22 hours left in the day, or whatever number of hours left, however long, if it takes you 6 hours to chant, you've got 18 hours left, then you do whatever else you want. If you want to sleep the rest of the day and eat, then do that. One time, that makes it an interesting sideline. One time, one man said, Prabhupada, is it true that I've heard it said that every aspect of devotional service is equal, because there's 9 processes of devotional service, right? So any service you do for Krishna, it's all equal. None is higher or lower. So then he says, instead of chanting 16 rounds, what if I do something else? I want to distribute books or collect money for Krishna or whatever. If every service is equal, why do I have to chant 16 rounds? And, I want to do something else. Prabhupada said, no. He said, you have to chant 16 rounds. And the man said, why? He said, why? Actually, you shouldn't say that to the spiritual master. And he was in a very challenging way. Of course, you can ask a submissive question you don't understand. You're trying to get some, you're trying to understand how something works. So it's all right. But this man was very challenging. So, and Prabhupada said, he's very serious. He said, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead wants you to chant 16 rounds. So very heavy, because that's what God wants you to do. Just do it. Don't then say, after God says do this, don't say why. God is speaking. Don't say why, because he wants you to do it. Just do it. So, but he still wasn't happy, even though Prabhupada said, because God wants you to chant Hare Krishna. And that's not Prabhupada just making it up that God wants you to do it. I mean, even if you go look at another prayer in those 8 prayers left by Lord Chaitanya, who is God, remember? So he said, Kirtaniya Sada Hari. So Kirtan means chant. Sada means always. And Hari means, Bob, what does Hari mean?
Krishna.
Yeah. Is another name of Krishna. So chant Krishna's names always. So that is the rule. That's what he wants you to do. But we can't do it, can we? Can we chant all the time? Well, what does all the time mean? It means 24 hours, 7 days. Can we do that? Actually, when Prabhupada came to America, you know what he told the disciples how much to chant?
Was it
when he first came to America?
64.
Yeah, Bob, spot on. 64 rounds. 64 rounds. And what did all those these are the beginning, the very first batch of disciples, what did they say to Prabhupada?
They ended up cutting it down to 32, didn't they?
Well, they said, it's impossible. We can't do it. It's impossible. So Prabhupada cut it down. Okay, 32. They said it's still impossible. We can't do it. We can't. We're hippies. We can't do it. So he said, okay, 16. That's rock bottom. That's the rock. That's like doesn't get any lower than that. That's the bottom.
16 is the minimum.
Getting minimum. That's what Prabhupada said, minimum 16 rounds, not maximum. Prabhupada didn't say you chant a maximum of 16 rounds a day. He said chant a minimum. You can chant more. It's better to chant more. But because we're Kali Yuga people, we're lazy and misguided and unlucky and quarrelsome, short lives. These are all the different symptoms of Kali Yuga mentioned in the Bhagavatam. We're not so good at, really intense spiritual practice, So Prabhupada's made it easy. So he's taken what God wants to always chant God's names to at least start a little bit. We can't even do that, then there's serious problems. There's no hope. But even that little bit, if we can't do, that means we're not serious. And Prabhupada said, 24 hours, you can't spare 2 hours for God. Then you're not sincere. You can't spend 2. Is it not? You don't even have to 24 hours, okay, then it's full pure devotee. But you can't even start out, just spare 2 hours, So this man, anyway, is very challenging. He didn't like chanting, but he liked doing other services. So he asked, "Can I do something else?" And Prabhupada said no. He said, "I give you permission. You chant 16 rounds, and you can eat and sleep the rest of the day if you want, but you must chant 16 rounds." So Prabhupada gave him full sanction to just eat and sleep the other 22 hours. But do you think Prabhupada was really expecting that's what he would do? Eat and sleep that for the whole day?
No.
If you chant 16 rounds, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, especially if you do it attentively, what do you think is going to happen to you after that 2 hours? How are you going to be feeling?
Wonderful.
Yeah, especially if you do it continuously. It means from beginning to end in one go. Now, you don't have to do that either, because remember, no hard and fast rules. Even Prabhupada said about himself, when he was a family man, he would chant 4 rounds before each meal. So that obviously meant 3 meals. And 4 rounds before going to bed. Means no beddy buys. If you know 4 rounds. No 4 round, no beddy buys. So, and no food. And everyone's attached to eating food. So that's a good way of doing it. I'm not going to eat my meal until I chant 4 rounds. I'm not going to go to bed until then you get 16 done. So he said about himself when he was a busy family man and he had, I think, does anyone know how many kids he had? I mean, he obviously had one wife, and I think he had at least 3 or 4 children. And I know one
3 or
was
4. You're not confirmed.
No, please forgive me. I've read Prabhupada Leader and Reader where it gives that information, Satsvarup Maharaj, but I've forgotten that bit. But he's a busy man, and he ran a pharmaceutical business, and he had to go all around sorting that out, and had the family responsibilities, and he was doing Back to Godhead magazine, writing Back to Godhead magazine and getting it published and distributing it as an old man, and later on in life, when he was older, he was distributing that as well, and. Yeah, actually he started Back to Godhead magazine in 1944, towards the end of the Second World War. So, he was very busy, but he made sure he chanted 16 rounds. But to this guy, he said that, you can eat and sleep the rest of the day, must chant 16 rounds. Because Prabhupada knew that if he chanted 16 rounds, especially attentively, then what are we chanting? We're chanting, "Oh Hare, energy of the Lord, oh Krishna, all attractive Krishna, please engage me in your service." So it's actually Prabhupada explained the mood of the chanting as it's a prayer. We're asking, begging for service, and it's a prayer for protection. That Krishna, please protect me from Maya. Prabhupada said these 2 things about it when he was explaining the meaning of the mantra. It's a prayer asking for service, and it's a prayer asking for protection from Maya, from illusion. So if you do that for 2 hours, you're not going to want to just eat and sleep. You're not going to want. He knew that wouldn't happen. So, but yeah, chanting is very important. So I would suggest, first priority is just chant as much as you can, and whatever spare time you have, whether it's reciting prayers or, God forbid, scrolling through Facebook or whatever, whatever it is, watching TV if you have to, but chant first, even the time management people. The time management people, they have one analogy. It's called The big rocks, something, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah,
You know about that? Who's ever done a time management course?
Yeah, in the jar, they have got a sand and the rocks and the, we have to put the rocks first. That is.
No, hang on. You missed out two important things. So you said rocks, you said sand,
and then
there's also small rocks.
Water.
And there's water. So you got four things, and you got to get it in that bucket. So how are you going to do it? How are you going to get all of those four things in the bucket? Which goes in first?
You go to rocks first.
Which rocks?
Rocks first. Then you
the
put
big
the
ones or the small
sand.
ones? No. There's big rocks and small stones, you could say.
The big one first, then the small, then sand, and then water.
Yeah, then it all fits. If you try putting the water in first,
you can't put them. That's right.
Good luck. It's not going to
Even if you put the sand first, you can't put the rocks.
You can't put the rocks. So that's related to your most important things as the big rocks. Those are your most important things. And the water is like it's not important. It's not urgent.
Oh, water is the Facebook, and the big rocks are 16 round.
Yeah, that's right, like that. That's right. So put that first, and that's more intelligent. Then you're going to be more effective. And time is so precious, as you know. It's very limited. Even Bill Gates, with all of his wealth and power, he can't get one moment back in time, isn't it?
No one can.
No one can. No one. Not 1 second more. You can't get it. For all the money, all the tea in China, you can't get 1 second back. Yesterday's gone forever. Even this morning, it's gone. This particular day, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's appearance day, the year 2021.
So what is the fasting till midday today? I didn't do it. I didn't know that.
Naughty. So it's recommended. It's recommended.
Bhaktimala, did you do it? Yeah. Oh, nobody told me that. Oh, okay. We always. Oh my God.
Well, he might forgive you if you chant 16 rounds. If you chant 64 rounds, he'll definitely forgive you.
I do 16 minimum, and then while washing dishes, I keep chanting. While shower, while driving, while doing anything, just chanting.
Yeah. So that's extra good to do some fasting. But even that, don't worry too much if you miss out some fasting or whatever. But the main thing is must chant. Everyone must chant. That's very essential. And fasting is like just the icing on the cake. So very interesting things to talk about. Would anyone like to share anything more about this subject or any questions or anything? Okay, all good. Okay, so let's get on to it. Text 21. What does it say? Let's recite the Sanskrit. So I'll say, and then please follow along. Vayasvashesvasaktatma.
Vayasvashesvasaktama.
Vindadyatmani yat sukham.
Vindatyami yat sutmanam.
Sabrama yoga yuktatma.
Sabrama yoga yuktatma.
Sukhamakshayam ashnute.
Sukhamasham ashnute.
Would anyone like to have a go at leading the chanting?
Very hard.
Yeah. That's another reason why you might not be able to chant all those prayers, Bhakti Mala, before you chant Hare Krishna, because we can't even say them. Can't even say the prayers, at least not in Sanskrit. I mean, you could say them all in English before you chant.
No, I just say in Sanskrit really badly, and then I hope that Krishna's okay with that.
Yeah. But that's the beauty of chanting Hare Krishna, even if you're not very good at Sanskrit. It's only 3 words. It's pretty easy. But, if you ask someone, a lot of these Kali Yuga people to chant all these, complicated Sanskrit prayers before they chant Hare Krishna, they're going to become depressed. And then you're going to have to send them to Sara just to clear their head, from... There's too many mantras. I'm going crazy. I can't handle all these mantras. They're just putting on me. Vande ham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha. I can't handle it. So I mean, some people are into it, and that's fine. Like Toshan, he's a born Bengali. His Sanskrit's very similar to Bengali. It's very easy for him. I mean, Prabhupada was also born a Bengali, and so it's very easy, for him to chant all the prayers. But, to go and tell that to a Kiwi and Aussie, recite, 33 prayers before you chant Hare Krishna all in Sanskrit, they're going to have a stroke.
Of course.
Their brain's going to go to overload, and they're going to just be a nervous wreck, and you're going to have to send them to Sarah to just fix them up. Like that.
Sarah would say, Abhay Prabhu said, just chant, just chant.
Just chant. And for those that are into, languages like linguistics and scholars and philosophers and, intellectuals, sure, pour on the Sanskrit. We can load them up with volumes and volumes of books. We can bury them under Sanskrit mantras. That's not hard to do. There's unlimited there, but for the common person, like ourselves, it's just start off, at least in the beginning, just start chanting Hare Krishna. After you've been around for a few years and you've been attending temple classes and, reciting the Sanskrit, after the speaker for many years, and finally you can get your tongue and mouth to move in the right way, then sure, go for it. Recite, Vande Ham Shri Guru and, all those prayers before you chant Hare Krishna. Then it's no, but definitely, be careful about anyone saying, you have to do this, you have to do that. The only thing you have to do is just chant Hare Krishna, mate. Everything else is optional extra. Anyone that says, you have to bow down this amount of times, or you have to read these prayers, or you have to do this worship, or you have to stand on your head, or you have to fast or anything, just take it with a grain of salt. You can say out of respect, yes, thank you very much, but then go back to just chanting Hare Krishna. You don't have to get upset with anyone for telling you, do this, do that, whatever. Say, yes, Prabhu. Thanks. Yes, Mataji. Thank you very much. Thanks for the good advice. Telling me about these prayers. Thank you very much. And then when they totter off, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Don't feel you are incomplete. You are complete, Bhakti Mala. And if you can't say these 33 prayers, you don't think you are incomplete. You are complete.
Yeah.
Krishna's creation is complete. Krishna creates you. You are complete.
Yeah. Even there's many prayers to chant to offer the bhoga, to offer the food to Krishna before you make it prasadam. In the process of blessing the food, getting prasadam, the food we're offering is called bhoga. That means for enjoyment. So whose enjoyment is food for?
Krishna's
bhoga. Bhoga means enjoyment, but the real question is, for whose enjoyment? Mine? No, for Krishna's. So it's Krishna's bhoga, and it's my prasadam. Mercy. The mercy is coming to me. I take the mercy. I give the enjoyment to Krishna, and I take the prasadam, the mercy. But even in the process of offering the bhoga, there's many prayers. But even Prabhupada, knowing our nature, he said, even you don't chant all these prayers, but just offer the prayer to your spiritual master and chant Hare Krishna, and Krishna will accept if you offer with love. The main thing, of course, you try to offer with love. He said that's the real mantra. And I'll tell you one thing, I'll blow your head off if I haven't already told you. I mean, it blew my head off anyway. Prabhupada one time was explaining, he said, talking about offering food to Krishna. He said mantra means, please take this, I beg you, Krishna, please take this food we're offering you. I'm not qualified. I am rotten. I am the most rotten. I'm not qualified at all. I'm just simply trying to assist my spiritual master. My spiritual master has ordered me to offer this food to you, so I am doing, under his instruction, but I'm not qualified. I'm rotten. Please take. Like that, and Prabhupada said, this is mantra. That's a fire mantra. No Sanskrit. But that mood, the main thing is what's in your heart. It's
Intention.
Bhava Grahi Janardhan. Janardhan is another name of Krishna. Janardhan means the maintainer of all the people, the jana. So Bhava Grahi Janardhan means, Bhava means what's in your heart. What do you feel for him? What feeling you have, what's in your heart for him, that Grahi, he accepts that. That's the main thing. What is your bhava? That feeling. Just chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Like a parrot, right, can also chant Hare Krishna, isn't it? You can train a parrot to say anything you want. So you could get your parrot saying, Hare Krishna, but it has no feeling. So we don't want to be just like parrot-like chanting so many things. The main thing is the feeling. Of course, to get us started, we don't have any feeling, right? Because we don't have much love for God, so we just practicing just these external things with hoping that the feeling will gradually come. And then that's correct. You're not going to have the perfect feeling or love in the beginning. But so you practice these external things, and the idea is by doing these external things like bowing down and offering prayers and chanting and so forth, that gradually that will awaken our real spiritual feelings, our love for the Lord. But that's ideally what we want to do. And and with offering food, that's what Prabhupada said, that even you just offer your prayers to your spiritual master. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Bastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta, Swaminiti Namane, like that. And then Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That in the most simplest way, anyone can offer food. Because there's a lot more prayers you could say to offer the food. There's one that starts Namo Mahavaranyaya, Krishna Prema Parayade, Krishna Krishna Chaitanya, Namne Gaur Tasai Namaha. Did you get that? Please repeat. No, it's not easy, is it? Namo Brahmanya Divaya Go Brahmanitai Cha Jagadhitai Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay, please say that now. No, not going to, are you? So don't make it too difficult. I mean, that's there. And of course, we did learn these when we began Krishna consciousness, and it took us a while. And do you know how we began? We just learned the English version first. And we offered the prayers in English. And then we slowly learned the Sanskrit, and then we just said it in Sanskrit. Because the good news is Krishna knows all languages, not only Sanskrit. He knows English and Chinese, Konnichiwa, and all African language. Did you know Krishna can even speak the languages of the birds and the animals? Because he's God. He knows everything.
He's the creator. Of course. He's the manufacturer.
Chaitanya, he was just chanting and dancing through one forest in India called Jharkhand, just in ecstasy chanting. And he just happened to brush across some tigers and lions and elephants and deers and peacocks and all kind of creatures. And do you know what happened to those creatures?
They're dancing too.
They all started dancing. They all developed love of God. In their own languages, they were all roaring the names of the Lord. Because the Lord, he's the Father of all living entities. He can connect with every living entity, in different ways, just suitable to their consciousness and everything. And so yeah, there's no hard and fast rules, If you want to do it, say some prayers in English, that's cool. If you want to say it in Sanskrit, awesome. If you want to say it in Bengali, fantastic.
What happens if you don't understand the meaning of that the prayer? You still get the benefit out of it?
You'll still get some, because Sanskrit is God's language.
Yeah. Okay.
So Prabhupada said that even like Bhagavad Gita. He said, if someone reads one verse from Bhagavad Gita, their life is perfect. If they read half a verse, he said one line, because there's 4 lines, right? So one line, even he said one word. If they read a single word from the Bhagavad Gita, their life will become completely perfect. What does a completely perfect life mean? What does that mean? What is a completely perfect human life?
Service to Krishna.
Yeah, service to Krishna. Yeah. And you're going home, mate.
Back to Godhead.
You're going back to Godhead, mate. Just from one word of Bhagavad Gita. One word. He said even if they touch the book, they get benefit. If they give a donation for the book, they get benefit. Anything. He said, even if they don't take the book from the devotee, but they appreciate the devotee, when they walk away, they think, oh, that guy was a nice guy. That girl was a nice girl. They were lovely. They were really lovely. Even they didn't take, but they just think something good about a devotee. They get benefit. Their life becomes perfect. Krishna will give them in future another opportunity to meet a devotee again. You know, I still remember how Krishna drew how do you say it? Can't even speak properly. Drew me in to Krishna consciousness. When I was young, my father and I were avid readers of all kind of nonsense, of course, mental speculation, and avid readers. And my mother would often bring home books from the, what do they call it, the flea market. They call it the flea market in Australia?
Yeah, we've got a weekend market kind of things.
Some do, yeah.
Flea market. Yeah, and it's like all secondhand stuff people are just getting rid of from their homes. So I brought back a box of books, and in that box was a hardcover Science of Self-Realization, and I just remember I was just young. I was just a teenager. Maybe a teenager. And I remembered I was so attracted to the picture of Prabhupada on the front. I don't know if you remember, that picture's not the same anymore, but it's a picture of Prabhupada just with a chadar around him, like a blanket around him. And he looks, you know what Prabhupada looks like, he's looking up, and it looks like he's just looking up into the heavens or something, and just he looks completely transcendental. I'd never seen anyone that looked anything like him before, and I was just so attracted to that front cover, Science of Self-Realization, with Prabhupada's picture there. And I flicked through the book, and you know what do we normally do first when we flick through a book?
We'll look at the back page first, and the back on that.
Oh, you do. That's the way
I read in the back of it first.
Oh, you read that? That's cheating. That's completely cheating. And but I don't know about you guys, but I always look at the pictures first, you know. And so I looked at the pictures, and there's a picture of Mahavishnu. You know, he's got universes coming out of his skin pores with 4 arms, and he's blue. You know, I was seeing a blue guy with 4 arms and universes coming like, you know, bubbles out of his body. And that just blew my mind. I was just dreaming about things like that. And then I never read the book. It would have been far beyond my comprehension. And my dad, I don't think he ever read it. But that was something I did. You know, some connection there, and definitely I had appreciation there. And then years later, Krishna drew me in a bit further, and because I passed the first test. And it was a bit appreciative. And then he gave me an opportunity. I had a vegetarian friend. He invited me to, he said, there's this amazing vegetarian restaurant. They have these awesome like vegetable pies. And I said, like, what's that? What's a vegetable pie? What's that? You know, because a typical ignorant meat eater, never heard of a pie that had vegetables in it, you know, because a pie means meat in it, right? So a vegetable pie, what's that? You know, and okay, I'll go along. And then, so he took me up, it was Gopal's restaurant. It's not there anymore. Gopal's restaurant. And you go up the stairs, and the first thing you see is this wall-to-wall painting of Gopal Krishna. You know, Krishna sitting on a rock in Vrindavan with his one foot on his knee, you know, and one bit of food in his hand and with a flute in the other hand, and just looking like a beautiful girl, you know, like just so beautiful. Long black hair and the forest behind him. It's like, and it's wall to wall. I mean, it's like massive. You can't not, it's all you see in front of you walking up the steps. And it's like, whoa, what's this? And then walked around the corner into the room, and it's like blew the top of my head right off. It's just completely, it's like a Vaikuntha transcendental place. The sound they had music going, of the mantras going, the music, and wafting incense, wafting everywhere. And ladies walking around like waitresses wearing full saris with this, like, you know, clay up their head, you know, and everything. I was like, blew my mind. And these men with like shaven heads with these funny ponytails and wearing dresses and everything. And
how old were you?
I was like, I was about 19.
19, okay.
19, and then and there was low tables with people sitting on the floor. I'd never seen anyone sitting on the floor before, cross-legged. That was the first time I ever saw that before. And then just the sight of all these foods, I'd never seen anything like that before. And these breads that were like puffing up like balloons and everything, and it's like, what's all this? Just completely, talk about Prabhupada being stunned. You know, I was completely stunned. You know, it was completely blew my head. And then we didn't even eat in there. We were walking down the street and with our food. And I still remember my first time I ever bit into a piece of prasadam, and it was this vegetarian pie. And it just, my taste buds just went through the roof. It was just so amazing experience. So I definitely appreciated that one. And it's not hard to appreciate prasadam. And then it wasn't long after that. Then about within a year after that, I met a devotee. I was working on an organic farm, woofing, and I met a devotee. And just by being with him for 2 or 3 days, I was convinced that I wanted to be with these people and be like them. Because I never met anyone in my life that was as peaceful as they were, as he was, or as happy and as knowledgeable. I had so many questions that no one had ever answered to my satisfaction, and he answered every single one, you know, completely. And I thought, man, whatever this guy's on, I want it. You know, it's so peaceful, so happy. And then he mentioned, oh, there's a Hare Krishna community just half an hour away. I said, what? You mean there's more than one like you? And I couldn't believe it. I said, mate, can you take me there? Can you take me? Take me now. And he told the man that owned the woofing farm that that the two of us were going. He was so angry. Oh my God. He was so angry. He blamed him for taking his free worker away, because woofing, right? You could do work for free, you know. So he was so angry with the devotee, Patraka, and we just raced off, and he took me to the farm. And I still remember the first male. I don't think I saw any men actually dressed up in dhoti at the restaurant. I saw only the ladies in saris, but I saw the first man dressed up with the dhoti and tilak and everything, because the devotee on the farm wasn't dressed up like that. And he was actually Maori body, like quite dark skin, newly shaved head, seeker and tilak, and the tilak really stood out on his head because, right, he's dark skin, right? Doesn't like stand out on our heads, but it really stood out on his head. And brightly dyed, you know, saffron cloth. And when I walked around the corner and saw this guy standing there, I thought, oh my God, this is like an angel. I was just thinking, this guy's, he's descended from some higher place, you know? He just looks so good. He looks so clean. One of the first things I noticed was that everything was so clean. The people were so clean. Their clothes looked clean. Their bodies were clean. The temple was clean. You know, I mean, you could feel comfortable to eat off the floor. It was just so clean. And it's so attractive. And they just look so, everyone looks so beautiful. They all look like goddesses and gods and goddesses, you know. So it's just so nice. And then I sat down and had lunch, a full feast of prasadam with the temple president. And I felt so honored. You know, who am I? I'm like nobody, just turned up, nobody. And I'm sitting down with their president. And I was like so honored, you know, and I still remember the sweet rice and all these amazing things, you know, and that was it, you know. The first morning wasn't so easy. 4:30 in the temple, half asleep.
Was it cold morning?
What's that?
Was it cold?
It was winter actually. Yes, yeah. It was winter.
Winter in New Zealand, freezing.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I feel embarrassed, you know, just talking about myself. But yeah, Krishna's just so kind. Like Prabhupada said, Lord Chaitanya is so kind, you know, so merciful. Even a little contact, like he said, even one word of Bhagavad Gita, even like I didn't even read even probably one word. I just appreciated the pictures of Prabhupada and Mahavishnu. But it's so powerful, and it will lead to some further. And I'm sure you all have wonderful stories of how, you know, Krishna's attracting you. That's the meaning of Krishna, right? All attractive. He attracts everyone, isn't it? We're certainly not born Hindus. I mean, I'm a Gulshan, as maybe an exception.
But
we're not.
I'm born Hindu, but ignorance for the last 48 years.
Yeah, he's practiced everything else except for Hinduism.
That's right. Yeah. But when I was young, I used to go to Vrindavan with my mom.
Yeah.
Every year, mom used to go there and just carry me there. I'll just put that a cone under the sari because the monkeys are snatching my cone.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. But Krishna's just so attractive to everyone.
And till today, my mom she goes to Banke Bihari temple, doesn't go to ISKCON one. And then I said, Mom, this is also Hare Krishna. She said, no, that's Westerners mandir, the mandir, you know, Angrezo ka mandir, you know, Westerners temple. Yes. We go to Banke Bihari. I was thinking, Westerner has got a church. How come they got a temple? Yeah. But now I know.
Yeah. So Krishna has a plan for all of us. He loves us so much, and he really wants us to come back to him. So... So yeah, let's read this. So yeah, like I was saying, even if we can't recite the Sanskrit, no worries. But yeah, like you were saying, yeah, even if you don't know the meaning of the Sanskrit, it's still purifying. And if you know the meaning, then it's even more purifying. Because then our intelligence can process that meaning, and it can awaken our intelligence, attract our intelligence. So it's highly recommended. I mean, of course, in the beginning, we're always going to be mechanical in our recitation of the Sanskrit. But later on, if you can, you know, learn the meaning of the words and everything, then that's so much the better. And then you can go deeper into it. And that's what studying means. Studying means to go deeper and understand the meaning of the words. But only some people will do that, though. Only those that are really intellectual type, philosophical type, are going to want to go deeper. And for the rest that are not so philosophical in that, at least chant Hare Krishna. And, you know, whenever you can, definitely hear some lectures and things like that, and try to read some books. I just so many things are coming into my head today. I don't know why. But anyway, that reminds me of another story related to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there was, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he traveled actually throughout India for 6 years, not by car, because no cars 500 years ago.
On
Guess,
foot.
you know how he traveled? On foot.
On foot,
He
yeah.
traveled on foot because India's a big place, right?
Oh,
Big
tell me about it.
place,
Yes.
India. I don't know how many times New Zealand would fit into the map of India. Many times, you know. So actually there's actually a walking track from the top of the North Island of New Zealand to the bottom of the South Island. I
In
only
India,
found out
there are
recently.
no walking track, just the dirt road and the rocks and holes.
Yeah, some of them are just across farms and not all on fancy roads and that. But it goes from the top to the bottom. And I only found out about this. And the only way I found out is because our property that we're on now, it's alongside part of that walking track. So all these people walking by from north to south, walking past our house. And I have a chat with some of them. And they take at least 4 or 5 months to walk. And New Zealand is like just a speck compared to India. So he spent 6 years. He spent 6 years walking around India, and when he was in South India, he came across one group of people that were taking the mickey out of one guy. They were laughing and joking and ridiculing one guy. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was attracted. What's going on here? So the guy was trying to read Bhagavad Gita. Can you see the Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Which way up have I got it?
Upside down.
Yeah, so he was like looking at it like that. And people were laughing at him. Well, it says he's like looking at it upside down. You know, why was he looking at it upside down?
Is it there he couldn't read?
He couldn't read. He was illiterate.
Yeah.
He said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to him, what are you doing? And he said, I'm trying to read Bhagavad Gita, but I can't read it because I'm illiterate. But my guru, my spiritual master, has ordered me. He said, you read Bhagavad Gita, mate. You read Bhagavad Gita. You must read Bhagavad Gita. So because his guru ordered him to read Bhagavad Gita, even though he can't read he can't even write his name. Couldn't even write his name. But he's just trying to carry out the order. Even he can't carry it out. But anyway, he's got to try, right? Because that's what it means. You're a disciple. At least you have to try. You know, so all the people laughing at him, this illiterate guy is trying to read Bhagavad Gita. But so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, yeah, he accepted that. But then he said, okay, but that doesn't explain why you're crying. Because he could see his whole face and his clothes were wet from his tears of bliss, of ecstasy. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, so why are you crying? See, because whenever I pick up this book, I remember that Krishna, he's God. He's a supreme person. But he has become the chariot driver, the menial servant for his devotee Arjuna. And whenever I think of that, how God loves his devotees so much that he will become even a menial servant of his devotee, then I can't help myself crying. I just start crying. This is love for Krishna. Just awakens from that. Just realizing how much God loves his servants, that he'll even become their menial servant. Amazing. You'll never find in any religion other than this one where God even becomes the servant of his servant. That's far out. And that's love. Forget about God being just the supreme controller, the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, the boss, the master, the fire and brimstone, the punisher, whatever, the big man. But he's also just the sweetest, most loving devotee of his devotee. There's one verse I've been trying to learn, which is a really cool verse. It's in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which says that the background of the story is that there's a yogi great yogi. He's got all mystic powers, named Durvasa, very famous yogi. And
Durvasa Muni.
yeah, so all Hindus know Durvasa Muni. And he was traveling around with his 10,000 disciples. He's a big man. He's not a small fry. He's got 10,000 disciples traveling around with him. So he comes across this king's palace. So his name is Ambarish Maharaj. He's a king. But he's not an ordinary king. He's a pure devotee of Krishna. And he doesn't give a stuff about being the big boss or enjoying collecting taxes and eating all opulent foods and wearing gold and everything like that. He lives so simply, and he does regular fasting. At the time when he came, he was performing an Ekadasi fast, and the time that he so the Durvasa came and he was doing his fasting for the pleasure of Krishna. And as the culture of Vedic culture is, if a guest comes to your home, you must invite them to come in and sit them down and make them feel comfortable and offer all respect to them and feed them. You must feed them. So the king said, please come and have prasadam. And Durvasa accepted. And also that's the culture too. The guest should accept whatever the host offers. So he said, yes, I accept, but I've just got to take a bath first, because that's part of the culture too. Like I said, people are very clean. So before eating, they'll take a bath and put on clean clothes. You know why you shouldn't take a bath after you eat? Why before? Why not after?
Because the food when you eat that, the Agni is doing the digestion. That's why you shouldn't be bathed after that. You put the water
you'll
on
upset your digestion. Yeah. If you have a bath after you eat, you'll upset your digestion. It's bad for your health. See, everything in Vedic culture is very practical. So the instruction is you have a bath before you eat. And that will improve your digestion. You'll feel fresh. You'll feel fresh if you get clean before you eat. Like if you get out of bed and then you just eat something, it's not the same.
Have a cup of coffee and some snacks and
get out of bed and then have a shower, put on clean clothes, and then you eat. You'll feel your digestion will be better.
Yeah,
will be better. So anyway, he said, I have to take a bath. So while he was away, the right time was there to breaking the fast, because in all these rituals, there's the right time and the wrong time to break a fast. So that not only the fasting is important, but when you breaking the fast is also important. And when you've done that, then your whole action is completely perfect. Otherwise, it's not fully successful if you don't finish it properly. So that when he was away, it was the right time. So to please Krishna, he wanted to do that. But in Indian culture, Vedic culture, it's very bad manners for the host to eat before the guest. That is just not fun. You don't do that. You don't even eat at the same time as your guests. No. You eat after your guest is finished.
Guest is like a god.
Yeah. And after he's completely satisfied, then you eat. If your guest eats all of the food in your house, tough luck, mate. You fast. Yeah. Tough luck. If you have to, and I've seen Indian people, Bhakti Mala was there. Remember Bhakti Mala and Mayapur, we went to visit that sannyasi in one place, the whole group. And you remember that sannyasi with his mother cooked. The mother cooked and the son, who was a sannyasi, served out the meal. You remember it was amazing prasadam. We went to the temple, and next to the temple, they sat us down in the hall and he served us out. And it's incredible. You've got this guy, he's like old enough to be my grandfather sort of thing. It's like whatever, 80 years old or whatever like that. Or maybe not that. Maybe I'm exaggerating because I'm pretty old now. I can't say that anymore.
You think you're young.
I said that when I joined. I say my father anyway. I should say he's old enough to be my father. So he's like 70 or whatever. And it was so embarrassing, he's serving me. He's a sannyasi. He's the highest order of society, most respectable person. and he's serving me, you know, nobody, you know, a Malecha, you know, and one of the people in our group was being a little bit overindulgent in how much they were eating, and just kept asking, give me more, more rice, more sabji, more. I couldn't believe it, how much he was eating.
Who was that in the group?
And that host, that sannyasi, just kept giving more. And I was looking at him, and he had nothing in him that, oh, I don't want to be giving this because there's not going to be anything left for me and my mum. You know, there was nothing like that. Just with a completely open heart, he just kept putting more. And when this guy, this devotee, I was quite embarrassed actually, just kept eating and eating and eating. And I knew, I could see, because I've done a lot of serving of food, and I'm very observant, and I'm always seeing how much food is there and everything like that, if it's enough for everyone on that. And I could see their pots were getting more empty and more empty and more empty, and I knew there wasn't going to be enough for his family, him and his family. And but he just kept giving. And so that's the culture. And then if there's nothing left, tough luck. And then so Ambarish was really stuck. You know, if I don't break my fast now, I haven't completed my service to Krishna. He's not going to be happy. And if I eat before my guest is not going to be happy. And then also God's not going to be happy that I ate before my guest. So he's like between a rock and a hard place. So he asked his advisors, what do I do? This is really tricky. So his advisors said, just drink water. Because in one sense, you're taking water. So that's like you're breaking your fast because you weren't having anything.
Because he did that nirjala.
Yeah. So in one sense, I mean, you're not eating any solid food. It's just drinking liquid. It's just drinking water. But in another sense, you have taken something. So it is something. So it's breaking the fast. You have eaten something. It's water. So, and this yogi, he's a really powerful yogi.
He knew that.
Even when he wasn't there, he knew that his host had taken something before him, and he was peeved off.
Angry.
He was so upset. So he went to the palace. He pulled out a hair from his head. He just went, and he threw it on the ground. And when he threw it on the ground, this big demon, this big angry demon appeared there and went towards Ambarish to like kill him. And what did Ambarish do? Did he call 000? Did he call all of his guards? Guards, quick, come and help. Did he run?
No.
Did he pull out his sword and his bow and arrow and went to attack him?
You just stand there with the flag.
Krishna. You know, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And he's just continued praying and chanting mantras. And, you know, Krishna, if this is it, if you want to kill me, okay, so be it. You know, he just accepts anything. It's all Krishna's mercy. If you want to kill me, okay. He didn't do anything to protect himself. Nothing. He didn't pray to God, please save me. Nothing. He just continued glorifying the Lord. So do you know what happened next?
That he said, the Krishna, it's like you can see that my devotee was in trouble, and then who gave it a trouble? And Durvasa Muni was in trouble, and he was.
Ambarish was in trouble.
Ambarish was not in trouble.
Well, it looked like he was in trouble.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, but eventually, because the Krishna was there, he can't be in trouble. Mm-hmm. And
so what happens? See, Krishna has promised eternally that my devotee will never perish. That I always protect my devotees, right? So his devotees are always protected by him. Even before there's any danger there's protection already arranged for them. So what it was, you know, Krishna has one disc weapon.
Sudarshan
Chakra. A weapon in the shape of a disc called Sudarshan Chakra. Chakra means a disc, a round weapon. It's like an ultimate kind of saw blade. but it's like the blazing sun. You know, it's so brilliant, like sun, like blade. It's very, very deadly. And it's an indestructible weapon. It's God's weapon, God's own personal weapon. It's actually a personality. Sudarshan Chakra is actually a personality, is a servant of Krishna, and is invincible, eternal, powerful servant of Krishna. So that Sudarshan Chakra was waiting there all the time with Ambarish, was permanently there as protection for the Lord's devotee. It's not that Sudarshan came only when there was trouble. Sudarshan was already there, but unseen, you know, in the background, but always there to give protection to his devotee. So immediately the demon came, Sudarshan just came out and just finished this demon. And was that the end of the story?
No, then it's chasing that Durvasa Muni, the Sudarshan
Oh my
Chakra.
God.
And
Then
Durvasa Muni running there. And
you rascal.
Yes.
You tried to hurt my master's devotee. You rascal. You're going to get it, mate. So then it was chasing Durvasa. He's a powerful yogi. So he went all the way with his mystic power to his father. Who's his father? Lord Brahma.
He said, I can't. Brahma said, I can't do it. Can't help you.
Durvasa is not a small dude. He's the son of the creator of the universe, Lord Brahma. So he went to his dad and say, hey, Peterji, hey, Dad, you know, please save me. You know, I've got, you know, Vishnu's personal weapon on my backside burning me. And what did his father say? The creator of the powerful creator of the universe. What did he say? He's got 4 heads. And he said, sorry, my dear son, but I can't help you this time. This is my boss's personal weapon. This is above me. You can try to go to Lord Shiva if you want, your brother. So his brother is Lord Shiva. I mean, Durvasa is not a small person. He went to his brother, Lord Shiva, who's the destroyer of the universe. Oh, my God. You know, he's a powerful dude himself. And so he went to the destroyer of the universe and said, hey, bro, Shivaji, you know, please save me from Sudarshan. And what did Shiva say? Shiva, he's Ashutosh. He's very easy to please, Shiva. He really likes to try to help you out. But in this case, what did Shiva say?
I can't.
My dear brother, sorry, mate. This time, even I can't help you. This is my boss's personal weapon. This is above me. I mean, if you like, you can try to go to the boss. So he went. He's a powerful yogi. He went right out of the material world into the spiritual world due to the prowess of his yoga power. And he went right to Vishnu Loka, Lord Vishnu's planet in the spiritual world, and said, oh, my dear Lord Vishnu, please save me from your Sudarshan Chakra. And he offered all kind of prayers and everything like that. You are the greatest, and you are this and that, and, you know, and I'm this and that. And you know what the Lord said?
Go back to my devotee. Ask him the sorry. He's the one can forgive you.
Yeah, he said, sorry, mate. I can't help you. I can't help you. You offended my devotee.
Mm-hmm.
He said, this is the verse I was learning. I'll tell you in English. He said, I am not deep. He said, I am not independent. This is far out, because that's what I learned about God, that he's Swarat, means he's completely independent. He can do whatever he likes. That's what God is, right? God's that person. He can do whatever he damn well likes. He's nobody's servant. He can do whatever he likes. He's under no one's control. But this verse blew my mind when I read this verse, because this verse says the opposite. This is God speaking. He says, I'm not independent. He said, I'm completely dependent on my devotees. He said that they control me. This blew my head. He said, I'm completely under their control. He said, they do not know anyone else except for me. And I don't know anyone else except for them.
That is connection.
That is, you're not going to find that anywhere else.
No.
Other than Srimad Bhagavatam. You're not going to find that in Christianity or Muslim or Buddhist or anywhere. The love between the Lord and his devotee. And the next verse says, Saranam Hridayam Mayam Saranam Hridayam Tvayam Maranyatena Janante Naham Tebyo Manogami. He says, my devotee's in my heart. And I am in my devotee's heart. I don't know anyone else except for them. And they don't know anyone else except for me. Like that. So then after that, then he says, yeah, like what Gulshan said. He says, if you really want to sort this out, you have to go back to my devotee and beg his forgiveness. And if he forgives you,
That's
then
the only way so that she can
only
stop.
way, mate. The Sudarshan is going to back off only then. So he went all the way back. It took him he was away for 1 year. Because you remember, he wasn't going down the road. He went to the topmost planet in the universe, Brahmaloka. Then he went to Shiva Loka, which is even more higher than that. Then he went to Vaikuntha, even higher than that. Then he had come all the way back to Earth. Took him 1 year. And he's going a lot faster than your stupid human spaceship, which can't even go to the moon. So he's going, he's rocking it around the speed of the mind, but it took him 1 year. And then after that, what's Ambarish doing? You think by that time he would have had a big feast, right? He's still praying and fasting. He was feeling bad. He was feeling bad that this yogi is like got in big trouble because of him. Can you believe it? Anyone else, what would they be thinking? This guy, he deserves to suffer, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'd be so happy your enemy is he's getting his just desserts. He deserves every bit of it. Let him have the full punishment. Yeehaw, he's suffering. But this Ambarish, oh my God, he's like, I'm in the wrong, because I broke the fast, he's got in trouble. Now he's suffering. So as soon as Dasa came back and fell down at his feet, he picked him up and said, there's nothing wrong, mate. It's all good. No worries. I haven't taken any offense. No problem. Please come and eat. And then, just fed them everything. He hadn't taken any offense. But this is just showing us, many lessons. Have you learned a few lessons? How you got to be very careful how you deal with devotees. Oh my God!
You don't know who's the pure devotee.
You don't know, if you don't know who's who.
Oh,
do you know
that's right.
exactly what level the devotee is that you're dealing with? What level he's on?
No.
Can you be sure that he's not, dear to Krishna in some way or another?
Only Krishna knows that what level he's
only Krishna
chanting.
knows. I mean, you might think, oh, he's just a neophyte. He's just a new devotee. He's nobody. He's not a sannyasi or whatever. But no, Krishna doesn't see sannyasi, not sannyasi. He sees what's in your heart, like what I said.
Intention.
That you really, if you're thinking about him and you're loving him and serving him, then he's there for you and he loves you. And if you like that, so that's one lesson, and also just how tolerant and forgiving a pure devotee is. They're just amazing qualities, and that's why Krishna is so attracted to these pure devotees, because they're just full of such wonderful qualities. They're just the perfect gentlemen, perfect gentle ladies. Anyway, we've gone on many unexpected tangents today, deviated from our normal procedure, but I hope you don't mind.
Not at all.
Prabhupada was a pure devotee.
It was great as always.
Yes. Very fun.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. I mean, it's a good day to talk about devotees today because it's the appearance day of one pure devotee, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Prabhupada talked about his spiritual master as a Vaikuntha man. He's from the spiritual world. He's not of this world. It's directly came from the spiritual world. Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, another pure devotee, prayed to the Lord to please send one ray of Vishnu. He wanted one powerful servant of this to come to the material world from the spiritual world to help him to preach, because he realized, I can't preach by myself. I need help. That he prayed to God, please send me someone. So one of his child was that, one of those Vaikuntha men. And that was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. You know? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He was known as a living encyclopedia. He had read every single book in his, not read it, but he'd memorized every single book in his school library by the time he was about 10 years old. Can you believe it? He has what's called a photographic memory. In Sanskrit, it's called Shrutidhar. That whatever you hear, you remember it for life. He like a completely photographic memory.
Go in the hard disk.
Incredible person. He was a celibate monk his whole life. It's called a Naistika brahmachari. He never passed one drop of semen from his genitals in his whole life. And what's the significance of that? You might think, well, that's ridiculous. Who cares? But the significance of that is the essence of the vital force of the body is the semen. It takes, I think scientifically, it's said it takes about 40 drops of blood to make one drop of semen. So that is the most fundamental building block of the body is the semen. And it takes so much energy, as you know, so much energy to produce blood, so much blood to produce the semen. And what does the semen do if you keep it inside, if you don't lose it? It travels up to the brain and nourishes the brain. And if all that semen is kept inside and goes to the brain, that person becomes like super intelligent. You know, his memory, his consciousness become very clear, intelligent, everything. So super, super amazing. But he had all good qualities, completely transcendental person. So Prabhupada became attracted, as we know, to his spiritual master. In 1922, he first met his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in 1922. And it's only because of his spiritual master that Prabhupada came to the West and saved our backsides. Because his spiritual master's first instruction to Prabhupada was, in the very first meeting, before he even knew him at all, seemingly, in fact he did, because, I mean, you know, has very powerful vision, the pure devotee. He knows a lot more about us than even we know about ourselves. So in the very first meeting, just within minutes of seeing Prabhupada, he said, "You're an intelligent young man. You should go to the Western countries and spread the message of Chaitanya and Mahaprabhu. This will do good for you and will do good for others." And those words seared into Prabhupada's brain, into his heart, and he couldn't forget it. And he actually challenged Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, because at that time, India was under the rule of the British.
Yep.
And Prabhupada was a follower of Gandhi, trying to get independence from the British. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was said, you know, that you have to spread the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Prabhupada argued, said, no, first of all, more urgent than that is, we have to get India's independence from the British. That is the most important thing. And so Prabhupada challenged him, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati defeated him philosophically. And Prabhupada accepted defeat. And Prabhupada went away thinking this mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in very good hands. I've met a very genuine sadhu. And you could ask, why did Prabhupada challenge this guru? That wasn't very nice. Actually, Prabhupada, before meeting him, he was the first genuine sadhu Prabhupada had met in his life. Before that, he'd met, as Gulshan could say, there's so many cheaters in India, isn't there?
Yeah.
So many rascals in the guise of sannyasis and saintly
The
people.
thing, anyone will put that self-referent clothes that a Westerner started to believe in them.
Yep.
And then they're taking advantage.
Taking advantage, yeah. So they would collect money from the Westerners, and behind the scenes they would be smoking beedies and taking marijuana, and they'd have, half a dozen prostitutes, and they would be eating meat and so many things like that, and real hypocrites.
Yep.
So Prabhupada had a really distasteful experience with a lot of these pseudo spiritualists. So he didn't have a lot of faith. But when he met, then he realized this guy is genuine. He's the real McCoy. This one's the real McCoy. So then it wasn't till 14 years later, 1936, he took initiation. But he said, actually, I was initiated in 1922. What does that mean? The ceremony wasn't until 1936. But that seed was planted in him when he first met his guru. So actually, when you first hear from your guru, that's when it begins. Not when you sit on the ceremony and you promise to chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regs and things. When that message first, you take it into your heart. Of course, if it doesn't go in your heart, nothing's begun. But if you take it into your heart and things start to go from there, that's the beginning. That's the beginning. Anyway, I've gone over time, and I've got to beat my head with shoes now 100 times. First of all, I came late, so I got to beat my head with broomstick. Then I finished late, so I got to beat my head again. So Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati must think I'm a real rascal.
But you give it a good piece of information, knowledge. That's all about the Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
Will we see you next week?
After what happened this week, I can't promise.
No, definitely.
But yeah, I'll try to come on time.
Will you be there here next week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you.
Hare Krishna.
Take care. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bye-bye,
Hare
everyone.
Krishna.
Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
Lovely to see you.
Likewise.
Lovely. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
And to Jayanti too.
Okay, I'll tell her. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.